Hello Matrix and welcome to Gr12 Exam Guide. Today we're focusing on Geography Paper 1. My name is Looney and I'll be assisting you to get all of your questions through to us. All you need to do is hit us up on all of our social media platforms. Just search for Gr12 as well as our WhatsApp line, which will be on our screen with all the details. We do have a fun competition on for you guys, so please do stay tuned to get all of the details on that. As always, I'm not alone. With me are my sign language interpreter, Nicolene, as well as my awesome teacher, Camelin. Thank you so much, guys, and over to you.
Looney, thanks. Great show ahead, guys. Geography, geographers, grade 12, it's time for the examinations. And we're going to be looking at an overview of Geography Paper 1. By the end of the session, you will understand better how to handle the Geography Paper 1. Your geographical knowledge that is being examined is Geography Paper 1. Let's look closely at what this paper is all about. So, Geography Paper 1. So let's look closely at this examination. Remember, you have 225 marks, which you have to answer in 3 hours. Let's look closely at what this paper is all about. So, remember the following. The paper consists of a section A and a section B. To do this, you will note the following. Section A and section B comprises of 4 content areas. Your section A is climate and weather as well as geomorphology. Your section B is rural and urban settlements as well as economic geography. All spread across 4 sections, 4 questions, which you must answer 3. So, let's go forward. Remember, as we've indicated, climate and weather as well as geomorphology is located in section A. And climate and weather is combined into 2 questions. Question 1 as well as question 2. Moving on, we look at Section B. Remember, with Section B, the areas that you are covering is rural and urban settlements as well as the economic geography of South Africa. These are divided into question 3 and question 4. Now, let's go further. So, you have 4 questions of which you have to select any 3 questions. Strategy is important, and this means that how you manage your time will depend on how you look at the various different words that make up the question for you to be able to understand what you can respond to. Let's go further. So, remember the following. In section A, you have question 1. And question 1 is made up of 6 sub-questions. Question 1.1 and 1.2 are your short objective type questions. What are short objective type questions? Short objective type questions is all about your geographical terminology. Those key words that make up the geographical concepts is what is being examined. These can be in the form of multiple choice questions, matching column A and column B, as well as selecting the appropriate geographical term within brackets. So, walking into that examination, you need to ensure that all these geographical concepts are well understood, because these questions are structured for you to score the maximum marks. All you have to do is remember, and you're on your way to success. Let's look further. So, we look at 1.3, which is climate, 1.4, climate again, 1.5, geomorphology, and 1.6, again, geomorphology. What are we doing? We are breaking up the content of physical geography into climate and weather as well as geomorphology. And if you look further, you have a similar structure in question 2, where you have, again, the short objective type questions of multiple choice, column A, column B, as well as selecting the appropriate word from within brackets. You have to select one of these 2 questions. But we're going to talk further about strategy just now. I'm giving you an overview of the questions contained in your examination. Moving on to section B, remember the following. Section B comprises of question 3. Again, the sections are settlement and economic, and again, examining terminology and concepts of geography in multiple choice, as well as column A, column B, and selecting the appropriate word within brackets. Think about it, guys. Those familiar terms like urbanization, urban growth, rural settlements, urban settlements. If you walk into this examination knowing the definitions, you are on your way to great success. And as you will see in question 4, similar structure. So your first 2 sub-questions of each question is there to assist you. And it will assist you provided you're walking into that examination knowing all your concepts geographically for the terms that make up each of these concepts. Now, let's look at strategy. When you walk into the geography examination, your first 10 minutes should be about reading the question paper. But it's a focused reading. You have to look at only question 1 and 2. So, all my physical geography knowledge is going to rest in these first 10 minutes of my selection. And remember, what is important is you have to know which sections are you better prepared for. So what am I going to do? Once receiving my question paper, I will have my annexure and question paper and start reading question 1. Spend 5 minutes just reading the question paper, familiarizing yourself with the content. And how do we do that? Selecting the question where you believe you can formulate accurate responses. When reading, remember the following. Pay careful attention to the longer questions. As you will know, we've got paragraph questions in both question 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're reading question 1. Familiarize yourself with the paragraph questions because this is your opportunity to score marks. What is the verbs that is being used? Are you being asked to discuss, explain, motivate? Are you able to? So I'm reading question 1. I'm referring to the annexure. I'm looking at the requirements of question 1. And I'm only going to do this for 5 minutes. Once completed, I'm going to read question 2 and do the same. Familiarize yourself with those instructional verbs, those verbs of discuss, explain, and look at the content that is being examined. Which one am I more comfortable with? Which content was easier to understand when I was in class? Once you've been able to determine which of question 1 or 2 is easier for you, select the question. Remember, you have a choice between 1 and 2, and you've got to select one of them. So dependent on your selection, you will answer that question in 45 minutes. Only 45 minutes. So what does that mean? I've spent 10 minutes familiarizing myself with question 1 and 2. I've made a selection, and within 45 minutes, I'm now able to answer either 1 or 2, not both. Are we together? And remember now, we're paying attention to the verbs, and those that we understand will enable us to answer the question better. Once the 1 hour is over, I'm now moving on to section B, my second hour of the examination. I'm hoping you're timing yourself, guys, because in the second hour, we're going to start reading again. And what are we reading? We are reading question 3 as well as question 4. We are taking the annexure, looking at the questions, familiarizing myself with the content that's being examined, as well as those verbs. Discuss, explain, evaluate. You know those verbs? Are you able to answer them? Will you be able to respond to the requirements of that question? 5 minutes for question 3, 5 minutes for question 4. And yes, you guessed it. in 45 minutes, I am choosing one of either 3 or 4. Now, we've got 2 questions in the bag. And according to this question paper, the choice is left to us. So we've got 2 questions answered out of 4, and we've got to answer 1 more question. Within the 2 hours, you have been able to read through the entire question paper. Now, I'm moving into the 3rd hour. And what am I going to do? Select from the questions remaining. You should know which one is easier. It could be that you've selected in your 1st hour question 1, in your 2nd hour question 3. In your 3rd hour, you have to choose between question 2 or question 4. And now, after reading and knowing what I've studied, I see that question 4 is much, much more approachable. I can respond better. Why? Because the verbs that are being used are asking me to explain, maybe discuss, describe. Whereas in question 2, maybe the questions were about evaluation, analyzing, and I wasn't prepared as well for that one. No, you weren't. So it is obvious you are selecting question 4. And that would enable you to answer yes in 45 minutes. In fact, if you worked with time, you should be able to answer that in half an hour, dependent on your responses. That would give you adequately at least 25 minutes to actually check your paper, that you've answered 3 questions and 3 of the best questions. So remember always, when you're answering, you should be able to do the following. Select the easiest question for your 3rd question to be answered of the remaining questions. You now have that selected question to answer in 45 minutes. You are now left with 30 to 35 minutes of the 3 hours to check all your responses. And when you are checking, remember, read through your answers. A common error is punctuation. Simple things like full stops, commas, capital letters, especially in your paragraph questions. Why not look at phrasing as well? The sentence structure. Did what I write make sense? Am I having the correct word order? Is the person who's going to assess my paper able to understand what I'm writing? You've got to allow yourself at least 30 minutes of reading time of the entire response in that answers that you have. If you don't, you will then not be able to determine how well you've answered that paper. So look at it from that perspective in terms of how you're going to manage time. Moving on, we have the following. Let's look at the aspects that are being examined in terms of the content. So, walking into this examination, you must know the following topics. I've broken them down according to the content areas. So, when looking at the following, climate and weather, the following topics are being examined. Mid-latitude cyclones, tropical cyclones, and remember, these constitute your low-pressure systems. Tropical anticyclones, these constitute your high-pressure systems. When we move on to microclimates, we are looking at your valley climates as well as urban climates. Remember, microclimates refers to climatic conditions in a local area. And of course, you have the following. Reading and interpreting of synoptic weather maps. When a synoptic map is being examined, it consolidates the entire climate and weather curriculum. Remember, climate and weather is examined in both question 1 and question 2. Moving on to the next section, geomorphology. The geomorphology topics, drainage systems in South Africa, fluvial processes, and remember, fluvial processes refers to how the water flows in a river and what factors influence that flow, as well as catchment and river management. This is about how South Africa is managing all the river systems, the dams, the water transfer schemes, and are they able to provide good, healthy, clean drinking water to all the citizens of the country. Moving on to the next topic, settlement geography. Again, rural settlements and rural settlement issues, urban settlements, urban hierarchies, urban structures and patterns, as well as urban settlements issues. And if you've